the book is essentially a roadmap which questions me on how well I'm doing, and it starts with vision, and it goes from vision all the way through to establishing a plan. And I think one of the things I noticed over the years when I was training seniors particularly is that they've given up the right to be happy and engaged in living, and what they were doing was essentially going to doctors and taking their medications and retiring or wanting to travel, but they didn't have purpose. And I think that one of the key things I learned in writing the book was that having purpose will allow me to have those years being meaningful and powerful, and that's what I want for people to have, meaningful and powerful years. That's what I want.
Yes. Now, it has a lot of chapters in it, you say, and those chapters, 35, is that correct?
Uh-huh.
And
yeah.
You were surprised that you had that many chapters inside you. That's what I remember when we first talked.
Yes, I was surprised that I was able to write as much as I was about the process. I asked a lot of questions in the book because what I wanted to do was establish a framework for my growth in the future. I could have written the book probably to celebrate my 40th or 50th birthday, but I wasn't ready to do it. And what I wanted to cover was as broad a range of issues as I could. And what I found was that only one of the 5 parts dealt with the actual fitness program itself, and the other parts dealt with the mind and the body, because I found that the healthiest people have a connection between their mind, their body, and their spirits, and they are conscious. And conscious people tend to be happy people, and happy people tend to be active people, and active and healthy people tend to be happy. And happiness, to me, is the key to a happy and productive future. I don't think people realize that we don't become happier as we get older. We become more afraid as we get older, and I think that's something I want to deal with in the book.
That's beautiful. Okay, so now let's say an individual comes to you. They have been afraid. They're afraid to fall. They're afraid to injure themselves. They're afraid to get out. And how do you talk to them? I mean, I'm a psychologist, but you're a fitness trainer. You're dealing with the very psychology of embracing life when they're facing fears that everybody's told them, you need to be afraid. You're older. You're more fragile.
I like to talk to people. I like to talk to people about that up front. What I do is I engage them on their motivations and their reasons for coming to me. And what I've found is that in the dialogue, we start to decrease the intensity of those fears by having a conversation on what's becoming possible in their lives rather than what's become impossible. And I have found, no matter whether people are on medication or have had spinal injuries or knee injuries or other problems that have literally taken them away from being the person they wanted to be, I have had in the dialogue an opportunity to diffuse those fears and give them reasons to hope. And I think the reason to hope is the key message I try to impart to people. No matter where you are, no matter what age you are, no matter what your condition, there is a reason to be hopeful. And I have seen people who are grossly obese just get in the pool and start walking in the pool. And all of a sudden you can see a smile come across their face. Or I've seen a person come into the gym and just sit down with me, take me by the hand, and I'll lead them to a place where they can start. And that starting point is for them specifically. And once you find that starting point for yourself, all of a sudden things become possible, and you're no longer afraid. And now you're willing to take a chance. You're willing to take a chance, and you're willing to take a risk, and you're willing to bet on yourself. And what I'll tell people is bet on yourself. You're the best bet you'll ever make in your life, and that's the place to start to become happy and hopeful from.
Okay, so now I just injured myself last night and couldn't do the treadmill. We talked about that at the very beginning. And I think that when I work with individuals and try to get them to be fit, because I run a mind-body sculpting program that involves the psychology and fitness of their spirit and of their mind and body. And in the process of that, they will come up with a myriad of excuses. And as soon as something in their body hurts or is injured, it's like all bets are off. And to move them beyond the awareness of that one body part that's injured into actually being active and taking the rest of their body part in their hands is just tough to move them out of that focus on the injured body. So talk to me about recovering from an injury and maintaining fitness.
I did that myself. I had 3 injuries this year from running after 45 years, and what I really discovered was that I had not taken care of my feet. And so what I did was I had plantar fasciitis come in the right foot, I had a jam toe in the left foot, and I had tendonitis develop in my left knee. And so what I did was I sat and I thought about this. I thought, what kinds of things can I do so that I can allow my legs to heal? because running was who I am, and I realized that I could cycle. And so I started putting on some cycling programs for myself in the gym initially because I needed to be there, excuse me, to be engaged in an activity that I knew would help me. But at the same time, I continued weight training. And here's the deal. I felt as though I was recovering from the injury as I started working my muscles, and I started the weight training program so that I could start building up the strength of my muscles and start taking the pressure off my joints. In addition to that, I stretched. I did some stretching, which would help my feet and my knees and my muscles to take the pressure off my joints. I did some meditation and prayer work, which was very important for staying in the moment with my body. And finally, I took some days off, and I started to recognize how much I appreciated the time off, because now I was taking time for myself, and I had not taken the time for myself to be really in touch with my body. And so this year,